Hello friends. So today we would see what is session context. So as usual the agenda would be initially understanding context info and the limitation related to the context info. Then we would understand what is session context, right, in its benefits and its comparison with the context info. And then as usual we would go proceed ahead with the practical demo to understand it more clearly. So first of all, a problem statement. So, why we need context info or session context. So many a times, we required some of the information to persist across the session. Okay, we want this information whenever, the any information is created in an application, then that should be, present across the session and can be used. So for example, login details. Right. So in those terms, this session context or context info where are being used. So first of all, let us understand what is context info. So context info is a function in SQL Server which is used, to achieve this goal of persisting some values across the session. But so there are some limitations related to the context infos, and they are like, basically, first of all, it's a very single binary value. Okay, so now which means that you need to convert the actual text into the binary, pass on to the store it to the session context info, and then whenever required again it needs to be converted from binary to the actual value. Okay, so that's what converting actual value to the binary and back. Second point. Okay, it is limited to 128 bytes per connection. Yes, very true. Only 128 bytes per connection. User can overwrite the data, so this becomes a security issue that if any of the user overwrite the data, then actual what the requirement is gone, right? Doesn't work same in Azure database. That is, if no value has been set in Azure database, then it returns any arbitrary GUID value, right? So it context info doesn't actually work same as mm, same in on-premises and in Azure database. So Microsoft has came up with a new built-in function from 2016 onwards called as a session context, right? Now this session context actually support a key value pair, which means, again, this means that you can have number of such key value pairs. So if you want to persist some more information, right, like three to four information, then you can actually create such three to four key value pair of session context. Okay, multiple key value pair sessions per session. Key are systems. The data type of this keys are system values are SQL variant. Okay, it supports 256 kilobytes, right? So it is almost double than what the context info was supporting. Key can be marked as read only. This is very, very important. Now in this, I would show you it into the demo as well, that you can mark the key as a read only so that no one can change that, right? And this works identically in on-prem database and Azure database also. So it's not like context info that it changes, if no value is being passed or if no value is set, then it returns some arbitrary GUID. Okay. So yeah, let us see something in action. So let me get this my management studio environment, right? So this is management studio environment. So very first of all, let us see what is how context info is, does work, right? So if you can see here, okay, declare at the rate context info. I'm doing this with the help of a variable, right? You can directly you can set the value for context info as well, right? By casting it to var binary 128. But here I'm using this variable. So I'm declaring the variable and I'm here setting the context info function with this whatever value is there into this context info, right? So let me set this. And then, so now here you can see initially to store this into the variable, I had to convert this actual uh, string into the var binary 128. And while actually getting the string, I had again to convert this from var binary to varchar 20, varchar whatever required, right? So here I'm converting 50 because I know it is between, the characters are within 50 characters. So if I check this, so you can see this Jitendra Maskar as 120, right? Now, if I actually go to the another session, then you can see here null. It is returning null because no con this is persisting only for that session. So this is my one session and this is my another session. So you cannot get this value into another session. It would be persisted only for this session. Okay, now you can like how many values are set here. You can actually see it in from the sysdm execute session for per session. Okay, so for example, you can see here if I execute this query, then you can see currently our session number is 60. So you will see at session number 60, the Jitendra Maskar would be actually displayed. So if I set the same value into another session here, and here I'm saying Hitesh Patel, for example, and I'm setting this value for this session as Hitesh Patel. Okay, and now if you execute this query, you can see this is 61, right? So you can see here on 60 you can see Jitendra Maskar and on 61 you can see Hitesh Patel, correct? So this was related to context info, but you cannot set two values. So for example, in the same session, if I try to set another, if I try to get another variable, right, and if I try to set this variable to any another name, again Hitesh Patel, and then initially I'm setting this context info with this, and one again with this second variable, right? So if I do this, whatever the last value was set, we can see that value. So here the last value was set was for context in for 1, right? And that's where you can see Hitesh Patel. Okay. If you just change this order, and now if you can see, you can see Jitendra Maskar, right? So this means that only one value can be set per session in case of context info, and that too the what you can do, the width can be only 128. Okay, wire binary 128. So that's where Microsoft came up with SQL from SQL 2016 onward. Microsoft came up with session context, right? So you can see here now how session context is set. So there is a system stored procedure called sp set session context, right? With the help of that, and you can see the key value pair. Okay, so this is the key, you can set the value into that key, and then you can actually see the value with the help of that key, and then what you can say, sorry, the value for key, and this is value for value, so it is called as a key value for pair. Okay, and when you set this in a simple way, and now if if we see what is the value for user ID, then you can see 4. Okay, so this is a key value pair. So now this is the key is in system and the value is in SQL variant. Okay, so if needed, sometimes we may have to actually change that. So this was actually direct setting up. You can do the same thing with the help of variables. So here I have taken two variables, user ID and session value. Again, user ID and 10. So key is my user ID and the value is 10. I am setting this with the help of variables. And now if you see what is there in user ID, then you can see 10 value. Okay, right? Then came now like what we were saying, right? Here you can actually set two values also per session, which was not possible into session context. So here I say user ID 1, and here I'm giving the value as 50. Okay, and then I'm setting this as session value is equal to 50 and user ID 1 here, and session value I would keep at is the same because we have already set here. And now if we see both the values, we can see here. So let me again set this. Okay, user ID, user ID 1, and let us make this as a 1 as well, and here as a 1. Okay, so let us set this. Okay, this has been set, and now if you check, then you can see here for user ID 1 we set 10, and for user ID 1 we set 50, and you can see two values. So this way you can have n number of, right? You can actually create such session context of values or session context. You can set the session context key value pair for n number of variables. Okay, now as you can see how we set this. So execute, then with the help of a system stored procedure, a key value, a value, and one more variable has been added as read only is equal to 1. Okay, so what I'm doing initially, I'm setting this value as 10. Okay, and let me show you here. Okay, so if you can see here, so my value is showing 10. Now what I'm doing, I'm trying to set this value again for user ID as 11 instead of 10. So when I execute this, cannot set key user ID in the session context. The key has been set as read only for this session, right? So you cannot override this. So this is where, we discussed that we can have this key value pair as a read only. Right. So unlike say a context info, one cannot overwrite if we had created this as a read only. Okay. And then, as we said, how to concatenate this? Okay, here also, as we said that user ID is a sys name, and that is an SQL variant. Value is an SQL variant. So if you try to concatenate this without converting it, then you will always get an error. So here I am actually declaring setting two session contexts, key one, key two, and the value also key one, key two, and then I'm trying to concatenate this value. So implicit conversion from data type SQL variant to varchar is not allowed. Okay, use the convert function. So as soon as we use this convert function, right, for session context, you can see you can even concatenate two keys, for specific requirement. So here we actually set the session context for two values, key one, key two, two keys, and then we concatenated that. Right. So this was very, very small, topic related to session context. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, please, click on the like button so that I would get motivated and I would keep creating such good videos for you. And also please don't forget to subscribe my channel, right? So whenever I upload new videos, you will keep getting the notification, and you can get benefit out of that. Also please share these videos with your friends and colleagues, right, to build the community and everyone, so that everyone can benefit from that. So, thanks for watching this, guys. Have a good day. Meet you next time with the next good topic. Till then, bye. Take care.